The hip-hop world is no stranger to public feuds. But when the drama hits the front door of the grand hustle, King himself, the internet stops moving. We've watched T.I. and Tiny Harris weather countless storms, from legal battles to entanglements. But the latest explosion has fans wondering if the throne is finally crumbling. The rumors started swirling like a wildfire. T.I. reportedly losing his cool after catching Tiny in a questionable moment with none other than the king of internet trolling, 50 Cent. Now, we know 50 Cent thrives on chaos, but adding Tiny into the mix is a recipe for a certified disaster. But just as the headlines were focusing on the alleged confrontation, a new player entered the chat, and he brought the receipts. King Harris, the couple's outspoken son, took to social media in a move that no one saw coming. Instead of defending the family crest, King went scorched earth, exposing his father in a series of rants that painted a much darker picture of what happens when the cameras stop rolling at the Harris household. Is this just another publicity stunt for a new reality season? Or are we witnessing the actual endgame of a hip-hop dynasty? From the alleged backstage confrontation with 50 Cent to King's shocking truth-telling sessions, the layers of the story are deep, messy, and incredibly loud. We're diving into the timeline of the blow-up, the history of the friction between Tip and 50, and why King decided that now was the time to air out all the family's dirty laundry. Buckle up, because the King of the South is facing a rebellion from within his own palace. To understand why T.I. reportedly went off, you have to look at the specific brand of tension that has existed between him and 50 Cent for years. These are two alphas who have dominated hip-hop culture for over 2 decades, but they operate on completely different frequencies. While T.I. prides himself on being the articulate, philosophical king of the South, 50 Cent is the undisputed heavyweight champion of psychological warfare and social media trolling. The friction between them isn't just about music. It's about ego, reputation, and the unspoken rules of the industry. The spark that lit this specific fuse reportedly happened during a high-profile industry event where the paths of these 3 icons crossed in the worst way possible. Sources claim that T.I. walked into a private VIP section only to find Tiny and 50 Cent engaged in a conversation that looked a little too friendly for his liking. Now, Tiny and 50 have moved in the same circles for years, and Tiny has always been known as a social butterfly who can hold her own with anyone in the room. However, given the competitive history and the constant subliminal shots 50 has fired at Tip over the years, T.I. didn't see it as a casual chat. Witness accounts suggest that the atmosphere shifted instantly. The air in the room got thick, and T.I.'s signature, vocabulary-heavy lectures reportedly turned into raw, unfiltered aggression. The irony here is that 50 Cent has spent years poking at T.I.'s insecurities. Whether it's mocking his big words or questioning his street credentials, 50 knows exactly which buttons to press to get a reaction. Finding him in close proximity to Tiny was, for T.I., the ultimate sign of disrespect. The shouting match that followed wasn't just about a conversation. It was about years of built-up resentment. T.I. has always been fiercely protective, some would say possessive, of Tiny, and seeing her with a man who has publicly clowned him was the breaking point. As the confrontation escalated, 50 Cent, true to form, didn't seem bothered. In fact, onlookers say he seemed to enjoy the chaos, sporting that signature smirk that has launched 1,000 memes. But for T.I. and Tiny, the damage was immediate. The fallout from this moment didn't stay behind closed doors or within the confines of a velvet-roped lounge. Within hours, the blogosphere was buzzing with rumors of a physical altercation and a massive blowout between the grand hustle couple. Tiny, for her part, has always been the glue holding the Harris brand together, but she's also shown that she isn't afraid to stand her ground. Over the years, she's developed a thick skin regarding T.I.'s public outbursts, but this time felt different. The disrespect wasn't just coming from the public. It was happening within the marriage, triggered by a man T.I. views as a rival. As the argument spilled over from the event into their private life, the tension at the Harris manor reached a boiling point. The couple has been through entanglements and near divorces before, but the involvement of a third party like 50 Cent added a layer of public humiliation that T.I. couldn't easily digest. While the world was busy dissecting whether or not 50 Cent was actually moving in on Tiny or just doing what he does best, causing trouble, The real threat to T.I.'s reputation was brewing right under his own roof. His son, King Harris, had been watching the hypocrisy and the ego-tripping for years. King has been struggling to establish his own identity outside of his father's massive shadow, and this latest incident seemed to be the straw that broke the camel's back. As T.I. was trying to manage the narrative and reclaim his alpha status after the 50 Cent run-in, King was preparing to flip the entire script. He wasn't interested in maintaining the image of the perfect hip-hop family anymore. He had seen the behind-the-scenes reality of his parents' marriage, the arguments, and the way his father handled conflict, and he decided it was time to speak his truth. The King of the South was so focused on external threats like 50 Cent that he didn't realize the biggest rebellion was coming from his own blood. The transition from a public feud with a rap rival to a private war with his own son happened almost overnight. While T.I. was reportedly still reeling from the disrespect he felt Tiny showed him by being around 50, King took to social media to air out a lifetime of grievances. This wasn't just a teenage tantrum. It was a targeted exposure of the family dynamics that the family hustle never showed the cameras. As the digital world watched in real time, the narrative shifted from a triangle involving 50 Cent to a heartbreaking and chaotic look at a father and son at odds. T.I. has built a career on being the leader of his house and his community, but as King started dropping bombshells about what really goes on when the music stops, that leadership was called into question. The 50 Cent incident was just the catalyst, the spark that blew the lid off a pressure cooker that had been simmering for a long time. Now, the Harris family wasn't just fighting rumors. They were fighting for their survival as a unit. While the world was waiting for T.I. to send a formal response to 50 Cent's trolling, the most devastating blow didn't come from an industry rival. It came from his own blood. King Harris, the couple's son who has often been at the center of viral family debates, decided he was done playing the role of the loyal prince. As the news of the confrontation between his father and 50 Cent dominated the blogs, King took to Instagram Live, and what followed was a scorched earth exposure of the Harris household that left fans speechless. This wasn't just a typical teenage outburst. It was a systematic dismantling of the family hustle brand. King didn't hold back, accusing his father of being a hypocrite who preaches one thing to the public while practicing another behind closed doors. He claimed that the image of the wise, composed mentor that T.I. portrays in interviews is a far cry from the reality of their domestic life. According to King, the tension at home had reached a breaking point, and the incident involving 50 Cent was simply the catalyst that made him realize he could no longer stay silent. King's primary grievance centered on the idea of respect. He argued that while T.I. demands absolute loyalty and alpha status from everyone around him, he rarely gives it back to his own children. King alleged that his father often uses his platform to belittle him, calling him spoiled or silver-spooned, to make himself look like a more grounded parent. But in this viral livestream, King flipped the script, telling his followers that if he is spoiled, it was his father who created that environment, only to use it as a weapon against him later. The most shocking part of the exposure was when King addressed the 50 Cent drama directly. Instead of defending his father's honor against 50's taunts, King seemed to suggest that T.I.'s own actions and his ego were the reason their family was constantly in the line of fire. He expressed frustration that his mother, Tiny, was being dragged into these toxic industry beefs because of the atmosphere T.I. fosters. King's raw emotion was visible as he shouted into the camera, claiming he was ready to stand on his own and no longer wanted to be associated with the grand hustle legacy if it meant living a lie. The digital audience watched in real time as the King of the South was publicly challenged by his heir. King went as far as to hint that he had recordings and proof of his father's fake persona, suggesting that the public only sees 10 of the actual drama. This internal rebellion gave 50 Cent even more ammunition. 50, never one to miss a moment of weakness, began reposting King's rants, using the son's words to validate his own claims that T.I. isn't the man he claims to be. It was a masterclass in psychological warfare, and T.I. found himself trapped between a rap rival and a rebellious son. The fallout from King's live session was immediate. Fans who had followed the family for years through their reality show felt betrayed, while others felt a strange sense of empathy for King. The narrative was no longer about a simple club confrontation or a petty social media post from 50 Cent. It had evolved into a heartbreaking look at a family unit fracturing under the weight of fame, ego, and unresolved trauma. T.I.'s attempts to control the narrative, something he has been famous for throughout his career, were failing. Every time he tried to offer a teaching moment or a philosophical explanation on social media, King was there with a rebuttal, ready to expose the truth behind the words. Tiny Harris found herself in the most difficult position of all. Caught between her husband's fiery temper and her son's desperate cry for independence, she became the silent center of the storm. King's exposure didn't just target his father. It indirectly highlighted the toll these years of public scandals had taken on his mother. He spoke about how Tiny deserved better and how the constant back and forth between T.I. and his rivals was a source of embarrassment for the children. The Harris family is no longer the untouchable dynasty of Atlanta. The palace is under siege from the inside. T.I. is facing a crisis of authority, 50 Cent is laughing from the sidelines, and King Harris has officially declared his independence in the most public way possible. The question remains, can T.I. find a way to silence the noise and reconcile with his son, or has the damage gone too far? The bridge between the public feud and the private collapse has been crossed. The world is now watching to see if T.I. will respond with the wisdom he often preaches, or if the old tip, the one who goes off at the slightest hint of disrespect, will take over and burn the remaining bridges to the ground. The final act of this explosive saga centers on the aftermath of the Great Exposure. Once the rants ended and the live sessions were saved to the archives, the Harris family was left to deal with the wreckage of their public image. The King of the South title, which T.I. had worn like a suit of armor for 2 decades, suddenly felt heavy and hollow. For the first time, the man who always had an answer for everything was faced with a problem that couldn't be solved with a dictionary or a clever rhyme. He had to face his family. Tiny Harris, the woman in the middle of the storm, finally found herself at a crossroads. For years, she had been the diplomat, the one who smoothed over the rough edges of T.I.'s personality and the one who nurtured their children's ambitions. But after the 50 Cent incident and King's subsequent rebellion, the role of peacemaker was no longer enough. Tiny had to address the fact that her son was hurting and her husband's ego was driving a wedge through their home. Reports suggest that Tiny took a step back from the spotlight during this time, focusing on private mediation rather than public statements. She was the only one who realized that every like and comment on the drama was a nail in the coffin of their family unit. As for 50 Cent, his role in the drama eventually faded into the background. Having successfully shaken the table, he moved on to his next target, leaving T.I. to deal with the internal fire he had helped light. This is the 50 Cent strategy. He doesn't need to finish the fight if he can make you fight yourself. T.I. was left to contemplate the irony of his situation. He had spent his career building an empire for his children, but in the process, he had created a dynamic where his children felt the need to destroy that empire to feel free. The reconciliation process, if it can be called that, was slow and painful. T.I. eventually posted a more reflective video, one that lacked the usual bravado. He spoke about the challenges of parenting in the public eye and admitted that no family is perfect. It was a rare moment of vulnerability for a man who prides himself on being the alpha. However, the public's perception had already shifted. The family hustle brand was seen through a new lens, one that recognized the human flaws behind the celebrity status. King Harris, for his part, began to establish his own identity outside of the family drama. He moved out of the main house and started focusing entirely on his music and solo ventures. While he and his father eventually reached a truce, the relationship would never be the same. The prince had grown up, and he had done so by challenging the king. This shift in power is a natural part of any family dynamic, but doing it in front of millions of people added a layer of trauma that will likely take years to fully process. The impact on the Harris legacy is profound. This story showed that in 2026, a legacy is only as strong as its current reputation. T.I.'s influence in the music industry remains, but his status as a lifestyle guru and family man has been permanently altered. The incident with 50 Cent proved that Tip is still susceptible to the same traps of ego that he warns others about. Meanwhile, Tiny's resilience was once again proven. as she managed to keep the family from completely dissolving, even when the world was rooting for the collapse. Looking back, the T.I. versus 50 Cent versus King Harris saga wasn't just about a club confrontation or a social media livestream. It was a cultural moment that highlighted the changing nature of celebrity families. It showed that the younger generation, Gen Z and beyond, will not be silenced by traditional family structures or the need to protect a brand. They value authenticity over image, even if that authenticity is messy and painful. As the final chapters of this specific drama are written, the Harris family serves as a reminder that fame is a double-edged sword. It can provide a palace to live in, but it can also turn that palace into a prison. T.I. and Tiny are still a power couple, but their power now comes from their ability to survive the truth rather than their ability to hide it. The throne may be broken, but in the pieces, there is an opportunity for a more honest foundation. Whether they take that opportunity or try to rebuild the fake image of the past will determine the future of the Harris name. The grand hustle continues, but now the hustle is about healing. The world is still watching, but the audience is no longer looking for a script. They are looking for the truth. And as King Harris proved, the truth is always more powerful than the story you try to tell. The Harris family drama is clearly more than just a headline. It's a wake-up call about the cost of fame and the fragility of a public legacy. But now, I want to hear from you. Do you think King Harris was right to stand his ground and speak his truth? Or should family business stay behind closed doors? And is 50 Cent the ultimate mastermind of chaos? Or was this explosion inevitable? Drop a comment below and let's get the conversation started. I'll be reading and responding to your theories. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that like button and share this video with someone who needs the full story. To stay updated on the biggest industry rivalries, celebrity news, and the latest updates from the world of entertainment, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a beat. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.